There we go. Okay. So it has been brought to my attention, mostly via you saying it over and over and over again, that maybe last week you were uncomfortable with the amount of talking we did about my butthole. So I can see where that would be a thing, and this is a partnership and all that. We do this together, so I'm gonna talk about that. William, how is your butthole doing? Is it good? Is everything working out, as they say? Something
So,
wrong with your audio. Oh, wait, there it is. Good.
so how was your week then?
No, we can't get to that part yet.
Yeah, we can go right to that.
No. We haven't introduced or anything.
Just go right to it.
Just shortly before we were going to do this, I was watching a video, and it's an old College Humor video, and it's what it's about doesn't really matter. It was a dumb video from shortly after the election with somebody talking about how all the things Trump's doing are just distractions, and he's got this plan, and he's 20 steps ahead of you, and all that. And it was cut with somebody pretending to be Trump, like having difficulty putting on a tie and shit like that. But the reason I bring it up is the person who is being told about how this is all a distraction and plan or whatever said at one point, "What makes you think he has this elaborate, carefully crafted Harry Seldon-like plan with and no context at all?" And I was simultaneously like, "Oh, that's a cool reference," and also like, "Wow, that's kind of snobby to put that in there and just assume people are going to know what the fuck you're talking about, because a lot of people won't." And now I'm not going to speak any more of it on the assumption that people will know, and a lot of them won't. So I'm part of the problem.
Okay.
All right. So, you sure your butthole's okay? Just checking. If you got problems, let me know. We'll help out. I can call people. I know folks. Butthole folks. Also, we need to work at coming up with a better title, because right now the title's going to be Butthole Folks. So, let's get on that. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Magical Talking Hat podcast, the only podcast in the world that apparently is not destined to fail, because all others are, and we've been trying for 9.5 years almost.
Long time.
Yeah, it's not doing it. So I'm Tony.
And I'm William, and this is episode 489.
Good work.
Getting right up there.
Yeah, it is. For those of you just joining us, this is how this show works. We have a hat. It is magical in that it has its own email address, themagicaltalkinghat@gmail.com. And people, lots of cool people, more people if you want. We could always use some more. Come on. We would be a good idea. Write in to that email address, themagicaltalkinghat@gmail.com, with little notes, comments, topics, questions, things like that. The hat magically transmogrifies those emails into little note cards with the information written on them that manifest physically within the hat itself. It's butthole folk servants, draw the note cards out of the hat at random, read them on the air, talk about them till we're bored. Do that for about an hour. That is the whole show, except the parts that aren't, which is most of it. So, how was your week?
Well, I mean, probably the biggest thing that happened was this morning we watched the launch of Mars 2020, which is was a rocket that has the Perseverance rover on it,
I
and
don't know anything about this.
well, the newest rover that's been launched to Mars is Perseverance. It was on a ship that was just called Mars 2020 that launched this morning. It launched successfully. So now the rover is on its way. It's going to land, or it's planned that it will land on the 18th of February next year.
That's soon. I thought it took a lot longer than that to get there. I thought it was like 4 years or something.
To get to Mars?
Yeah.
No.
Huh.
So it'll be there February 18th, I think. This rover is going to a very specific crater on Mars that they feel like they have ample evidence to conclude used to be a lake with a sort of a river flowing into it and a river flowing out of it. And where the river flowed into it, they're pretty sure there's a delta there. So they think that this site, this general area, is a very strong candidate for finding evidence of life. And that's the main goal of Perseverance, is to find evidence of life.
So are you going to have a Mars-themed birthday party?
I don't know.
It feels like it'd be very appropriate.
Well, there's a lot of different things about the Perseverance as compared to the other rovers that came before. It's quite a bit larger. It's powered by a nuclear battery. It's carrying with it a helicopter that they're calling Ingenuity, that's going to drop out of the bottom of it and be able to fly around in the Martian atmosphere, which is going to be quite a feat because the Martian atmosphere is like 1% the density of Earth's atmosphere. So this helicopter's got to be very light. It has 2 rotors on it, but it's going to be able to take video, almost like a drone, here on Earth. It's going to be function a little like that.
I
also
love all the naming convention involved, because we had Curiosity, and now we got Perseverance and Ingenuity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as it goes on, I'm wondering if it's going to be like Stubbornness, Bloody-mindedness,
well, those two names,
one-upsmanship, and then eventually just Cliche, because we will have sent so many.
Those 2 names were suggested by high school students who wrote essays about what they thought.
Really? Not Rover McRoverface?
No, high school kids came up with them.
Ah.
But one of the new things that the rover has is microphones. So
to hear the Martians.
To hear whatever.
They can do interviews now.
Microphones.
Sweet.
There's also a laser that's going to, be shot at particular samples of rock. It's going to vaporize, and then the rock, and then they're going to use, a spectrometer to get to analyze that rock. They've never done that type of. They've never used a laser before to test samples.
And in the event of hostile Martians, it can defend itself.
But also, because the search for life really is nearly impossible to do on Mars with a rover, one of the things the rover is going to do is it's going to collect samples, sterile samples, put them in a container and drop them on the Martian surface for something to collect later to take back to Earth.
For when Elon Musk shows up.
Well, that's the funny thing. They've got this rover that's going to be dropping samples in the general area to be collected, but the don't think any part of the mission that involves going there to pick the stuff up and bringing it back, I don't think that's started yet. I don't think that's going to launch for like another 6 years. And the samples.
It's also weird because it doesn't seem like it's if you're doing a manned mission to Mars, the sample collecting part seems fairly minor.
Well, right, like, but they want these samples before the manned mission gets
so finished. They'll have comparative data over a span of years already, even once they first show up. I see.
Yes, right. And I mean, but they don't plan on having these samples for like a decade probably. So, I mean, I don't remember what they were shooting for in terms of having the first landing on Mars, but it's way out. I mean, it's far away. So all of this stuff is supposed to come first, going to sending Perseverance, having it gather some samples, getting those samples sent back. And again, that whole process that just started today is going to take 10 or 11 years just to get that process to where the samples are on Earth and they're analyzing them. And then some point after that is going to be when
Venom takes over.
So it's a big deal that today's launch was, I mean, it was really we've been sending orbiters and probes to Mars for some time, but this is sort of a start of a new era that's where the focus is very much on how everything is contributing in some direct way to us landing there, right? And setting up a habitats there. So
who is us in this context?
Well, that's a very good question. Now,
so.
Perseverance did have some international cooperation, but it was mostly an American thing.
But specifically an American government thing, like NASA?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, well, it was a public-private partnership. I mean, in fact, I'm pretty sure that the launch control today was a private company. Oversaw launch control today. But NASA, yes, is definitely involved. It's less of the SpaceX thing, I don't know what the percentage is, right? Like 50% SpaceX, 50% NASA or whatever. This seemed like whatever it was more NASA and less whatever the private group was doing.
Okay.
And more America and less whatever international people were doing. Although I'm pretty sure there was some international participation in the development of the project. As far as Mars goes, there's going to be a lot. I mean, there's definitely, I'm pretty sure the SpaceX ship is going to Mars. So it's going to be a privately developed ship that goes there first. And I'm sure that there's going to be international participation also. So, but it's going to be it's a very long-term thing. I mean, I don't remember what the date was for when they thought they might go to, what the year, they don't have a date, but they have a year. And what I do remember about when they said the year was, I do remember thinking that it was the first time I ever heard about something that was going to happen in 10 or 20 years. And I paused to wonder if I would be around to see it because it was going to be in my late 60s or early 70s, But I mean, maybe not. But that was the first time that ever happened to me. Usually when I heard about something happening, well, this will happen 20 years from now, all I thought was, oh, well, 20 years from now, I'll see that or experience that. But this was mentioned, whatever the year was, I think it was 20 years. And my thought was, oh, I wonder if I'm going to make it. Because I don't know.
I mean, you fucking better. We still got this podcast to do.
Well, I don't really have a reason to think that I won't make it into, my 80s or whatever. I mean,
just saying, check your contract.
But you never know. I mean, my mom and her father both died at 61. They both had health problems that I don't have any reason to think I will have, but you never know. So I remember when they said, yeah, we're going to be landing on Mars, and I don't know what, again, I think it was like 20 years from now. And I remember thinking, well, I hope I'm still around for that, because I would like to see that.
And we can dedicate an episode of the podcast to it.
That's a long ways away, though. It's a long ways away.
It'll give us time to come up with good opening bits.
But yeah, that was that was just this morning. And my wife also got up and watched it. It was pretty exciting. I mean, they're not, the launch went off without hitch. The real thing is going to be on the 18th, because landing on Mars is extremely difficult, right? There's not enough.
I mean, I don't know anybody who's managed it, so I agree with you.
Well, NASA has. But
I don't know anybody from NASA. I do know somebody who used to work for NASA, but not in Mars context.
The atmosphere is so insubstantial that you can't just like have parachutes gently bring the thing down. But also, it's not like the moon where you don't have an atmosphere, so then you can just, do retro rockets or whatever, and then that works. You've got to deal with a little bit of an atmosphere and a little bit of a not atmosphere, and those two things together are basically work together in a very bad way to make it extremely difficult to land a vehicle safely on Mars. So it's going to be like the last time they did it. I don't know if you remember, but the way they did it was they had the rover was attached to this sort of vehicle, I guess you could say. And this vehicle had retro rockets on it that entered the atmosphere and then allowed the whole thing to hover. And then it had to lower the vehicle with like a winch basically to the surface and then let it go and then take off. I mean, it was complicated, right? It's like, think of how many things can go wrong. Is that how they're doing it
this time?
I think so. I think it's very similar to that. But, they had no idea it would work the last time they did it that way. So they're just hoping everything goes well. Because if it doesn't, then that's so much money wasted on this really incredible piece of equipment. So when the 18th rolls around, it's going to be pretty tense.
It's only 19 days away.
February 18th, you know what I mean. So yeah, that was fun and interesting today. Otherwise, we've just been watching.
The first 6 days of your week were boring.
No, we've been watching mostly really binging Avatar, and we've got like 3 left, so we haven't even finished it. And it's okay.
But that's a lot from last week. You weren't
good.
Even finished with season 1 last week, so
no, that's true. That's true. And we didn't do that every.
If you've got 3 left, though, you've done the Bloodbender episode, which is one of the creepiest fucking things I've ever encountered in my life.
Oh yeah, that was creepy.
I was like, I mean, the show does get more serious and more dark in places, but that one I was like, I never expected the Avatar cartoon to have an episode that I'm like, this is gonna give me nightmares. But it had exactly one.
But anyway, how was your week?
It's pretty okay. Progressing slowly but surely on the book. I'm setting goals now for myself of I have to be through chapter whatever by the end of the week and stuff like that.
Right.
Still cleaning the kitchen. Yesterday, I took on a big pile of things in the kitchen that was old enough that like it's really gross. But I took it on, and so today, people are very big on how humans have the ability to house 2 contradictory thoughts in their head at the same time.
Sure.
And today I went into the kitchen and I simultaneously thought I made a big mess in the kitchen yesterday and made it way messier, and I really need to clean that up. And this kitchen is cleaner than it's been in years. So still digging that, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of that to do tomorrow. Didn't go to the gym this morning. I've been going otherwise, but I didn't go. I can't seem to the first week I did 5 days. Now something seems to happen every week to mess up one day. So I go 4. This time I woke up to 18 emails from Amazon talking about the 18 purchases I had made in the wee hours of the morning.
Oh, wow.
It was very strange. In the wee hours of the morning, my Amazon account placed 9 orders, each of which contained 2 items, the likes of which were all over the place, but fairly high-end stuff. Like the cheapest thing were some chargers, but like tool kits and pieces of furniture and a lot of stuff, all of which cost 11 cents. And then 1 cent tax included. So each order was 24 cents total. All being sent to my home address, all from the same brand new third-party seller, and all claiming to have already shipped. Yeah.
But like your card wasn't charged or anything like that?
No, it was for 24 cents per thing. No, this really happened. This wasn't like a scam email. This was a legit email from Amazon because fucked up shit had happened on my Amazon account.
But how could all of it cost only 24 cents per thing?
Well, keep in mind, this is a brand new third-party seller. So, based on some experience that Trish had read about before and our own theory, in theory, they place these orders, and the only reason they theoretically got caught here is because I have it set up to automatically tell me when I purchase anything. Some people don't.
Okay.
And the orders were for so tiny, you wouldn't necessarily notice the money gone from your bank account if you aren't looking carefully at it. So it's entirely possible for this order to happen and you not to notice. Now, there can be a few versions of this. One is they actually send you this shit, because although it priced more here, if it's, for instance, coming from China, from someone who gets it at cost, 12 cents might be fairly close to the actual price. Or they just don't send it to you, and since you don't know the order is happening, you don't miss it. But either way, it creates previous orders for this previously unknown company. And if they have access to your account, they can even go in and rank the order 5 stars or something, and you'll never know anything about it. So theoretically, it's a way to give legitimacy to a previously unknown seller.
Yeah, but they can do that without charging your account. I mean, that's what that thing is happening. People are getting seeds from China or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's a deal where once it gets delivered, it activates some fake account that they're making there, and they're not. I don't think they're taking anyone's money to do that, but they are creating these accounts that can put fake reviews on things.
Yep.
So I wonder why they're charging your account if they don't have to do that.
I don't know. But I put Amazon on it, and I immediately changed my password, which was too bad because the support thing was logged, and they're like, our fraudulent department will get back to you within 24 hours. And they did get back to me, and they're like, we've found some hinky stuff on your account, which I'm like, you think? So consequently, we've disabled your password, and you're going to have to change it. I'm like, I just changed it. So now I had to come up with a new one for it. So let's hope
a new one.
Yeah, a new one. Yeah. But yeah, so that should be, and I immediately, ran all the antivirus, anti-malware scans on my computer and deep scans and all that. And it didn't find anything other than the usual 644 tracking cookies. So I got rid of those, but
so I wonder if you're going to get
presumably got my password.
I wonder if you're going to get something, like not the stuff that was
I don't know.
said, but something like, something that's not, I mean,
I don't know. The orders have theoretically been canceled now.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know.
I mean, I don't think they can just order them or even take your money. I think they have to be delivered. So something would have to come to your house. It doesn't have to be the thing that it says it is. It can be anything. And as long as they visited your house and marked it down like the package got there, that's all that matters, I think, in terms of them being able to do those fake, like you said, those fake reviews.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it's going to come up because the orders are canceled. If they really did move that fast and they like got into my account, placed those orders, and immediately sent some shit out, then maybe. But I mean, this was all resolved in like 12 hours from when it first happened. So, but we'll see. If I get free crap from China, as long as it doesn't kill me, I'm fine with that.
Did you get your $1.50 back or however much it was?
I haven't checked the account yet. I should. The problem is they did it and then I had to do this podcast, so I'll look tonight. But
okay.
But yeah, it's like $3 or something here.
Weird.
So that was weird. I saw a couple movies this week. We watched a movie I had not heard about before on Hulu currently called Shoplifters. It's a Japanese movie from 2018 that won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. And it's really good. It's just a drama. They marked it as a crime film and a drama, which I mean it technically is, but it's the story of this Japanese family that survive by living, all of them, in this little tiny apartment that the mother-in-law lives in. They're illegally squatting there with her, like it's not supposed to be that big a residence, and they mostly get by shoplifting, and like they've taught the kids how to do it and things like that. And then, you know, it looks into their lives and so forth, and then it turns out things are not quite what they seem, and hijinks ensue. But it's a very just, you know, look at these people's lives kind of thing. I thought it was a very interesting commentary sort of on the poor and marginalized in Japan, which is not something that had ever come up before. But yeah, there's not a lot to say about it without giving away spoilers, and it's a fairly just straightforward plot. It's very much character study, but I liked it, and it's on Hulu, so if anybody's got Hulu, go check it out. The Shoplifters. That was fun. And then I saw a movie that in this country, when it was originally released, was called Strange Behavior. Everywhere else in the world, it was called Dead Kids. And it's from, I think, 1981, and it has the auspicious title of being the first horror film ever filmed in New Zealand. It was a New Zealand-Australian co-production. And it's not very good at all, and I don't recommend it. Even as a trashy horror film, it's not a very good story, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's bad. But I bring it up because it has a very odd distinction to it. It is set in the town of Galesburg, Illinois. Again, filmed in New Zealand. New Zealand-Australian co-production film set in the real-life town of Galesburg, Illinois, and includes among its genuine references that match the town a trip that some of them take to the local Steak and Shake. Which, just to confirm, I looked up, and it has been around for a very long time, but Steak and Shake is a decidedly middle of the U.S. chain and always has been. It does not exist in other countries, let alone other hemispheres. And so I have no idea why they picked this not well-known town even today, and even less so back then in Illinois, and bothered to give it that much realism. Like, it's odd. And the accents are hilarious because they vary in quality a great deal. And some of them are fine, except in certain points, and suddenly the Australian jumps back in or the New Zealand jumps back in. And some of them just never had it. And some of them are very clearly dubbed over. I just don't. And there's nothing about it that it would need to have been set in the U.S., let alone Galesburg.
Well, I imagine someone involved with the project must have spent time there.
And fell in love with it, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, this was before they would have been able to look the town up on Wiki or anything else.
Yeah.
So whatever they knew about it, they had to know about it. Is there a college there?
Yeah, well, there was at the time. There's not now, but Galesburg College was a thing, and it's set largely at Galesburg College.
Well, they probably went there for some reason.
It's just so weird. Like, there's no point to it. Like, there's nothing. The entire plot could have easily been fit into anywhere else. So I just find it interesting and arbitrary that it's set in Galesburg.
Well, does your book have to be set in Iowa?
Yes, it definitely does. Definitely. No, but also, if I wrote my book set in a weird small town in Australia, that would be strange.
But you've never been there.
And if I made a movie cast full of only people from Iowa, it would be extra weird to film it set in a small town in Australia.
Okay. I'm just saying that someone probably wrote what they knew, and they probably lived in Illinois there. That's really the only explanation, I think.
I'm going to back this up a little bit.
You're right.
Like you're not getting my message. In no way am I saying, I can't believe this happened. How is this possible? I'm saying
you're not.
It's a funny, weird coincidence.
Yes. I know what you're saying.
And especially because doing it made it more difficult on their film than it would have to just film it as if it was set in a place where, the people who spoke sounded normal.
Sure. Except maybe for the writer, it was easier somehow. I don't know. So that's all I'm saying.
I didn't check if the writer and the director are the same person. Shouldn't I also saw an absolutely shit movie called Paranormal Demons, where the writer and the director and the editor and one of the main characters are all the same person. And I watch shitty found footage movies. This one was especially terrible. And it's largely terrible because it has a lot of dialogue explaining things and discussing things and debating the merits of belief in the supernatural and things like that. And every single sentence, none of which felt ad-libbed, all felt very scripted. Every single sentence makes no sense in and of itself or in relation to any of the sentences around it. It's just amazingly bad. Like, you would have to work, or you would have to have a very subpar AI to get a script that off.
Mm-hmm.
It's really kind of amazing. So yeah, don't see Paranormal. Don't see Dead Kids either. I just thought it was funny. See, the problem is you would be super more into this if it was like, say, Kewaunee, Iowa. Because it's across the river and it's Illinois, you're like, fuck it, don't care. If this was set in an Iowa town, you'd be way more into it. Or if it was set in Hell, Michigan.
Isn't Kewaunee in Illinois?
God damn it.
I think
I think it's Iowa.
I don't think so.
God damn it.
I think it's in Illinois. I used to see these commercials for a place called Goods in Kewaunee.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that Ellen? I thought it was Iowa.
I think it's in Galena. Or no, it's near Galena is what I mean. Because they talk about
I do think so. I think it's weird and that it's further east than, like, there are things in Illinois that are further west than it is, but I think it's still Iowa. I think it's a not straight border. I don't know though. I'm making it up. My point is, all right, we'll say Montezuma, Iowa then. Yeah,
okay.
Then I would have been more interested, actually. Anything in Poweshiek County.
Well, there's, I've gone out of my way to watch things that are supposed to be in Iowa. And of course, they'll have a scene where it's clearly in Southern California. You can see hills and mountains in the background. I mean, it's like they don't even try.
That one I always like.
They don't even
I always
try.
like where it's like you don't like the horizon is distinctly different.
But it's like you say it when you see it, you're thinking, why even bother? But a lot of times I don't know where the writer's from. Maybe the writer's from Iowa. Maybe that's why they. Maybe that's why.
And as
they
long
wrote
as it
that.
doesn't make it more difficult to make your movie, I'm fine with that. But they did a pretty good job. Like I kept looking for like, okay, I'm gonna see the Australian shit here.
Yeah.
They did a pretty good job, and the climate matched. I was like, this shot here could believably be in Western Illinois. Like they did pretty well with that. I was kind of surprised. The Steak and Shake looked nothing like Steak and Shakes look.
Oh, okay.
Although this was a few decades ago, maybe it did back then. I don't know. There was like a neon sign and shit. We looked it up to make sure there was one in Galesburg, and we saw a picture of it. Doesn't look like that.
Isn't Western Illinois pretty flat?
Yeah. But
People try to
huge
find-
swaths of Australia are too, or New Zealand. I don't know.
Yeah.
New Zealand is kind of famously hilly, so I don't know how they did it. Maybe a lot of the B-roll was just somebody literally went to Galesburg and filmed it. I don't know.
Possible.
Most of the things outside, the paint on the streets, like in terms of like warning a stop is ahead and stuff, looked vaguely different, but it didn't have like drastically different street signs or anything like that. Nothing that I was like, that's clearly a different country. Like, yeah, no. That was weird. Bad movie though. Don't watch it. But main character, actor by the name of Dan Shore, who looked very familiar to me, so I looked him up. Turns out not only did he play Billy the Kid in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which I still haven't seen, but I've seen lots of clips from it, so I recognize him there. He played Ram in the original Tron. So you remember in Tron, they all escaped, and it was 3 guys, and one was Jeff Bridges, and one was Bruce Boxleitner, and then there was the other guy, and the other guy died. That was him.
Yeah, I mean, I do see them having both the same face, kind of.
Right?
I don't know if it's. Yeah, I do. No.
And crazy ass hair, but
I don't remember seeing him in anything else.
oh, he's been in a lot of shit. But it was the 80s. A lot of it was he was in an episode of Murder, She Wrote and crap like that, you know. In the 80s, you could really make a career out of being on an episode or 2 of whatever network.
Yep.
Usually murder show there was.
Yeah.
I watched a video that popped up that was supposed to be a review of a Magnum PI episode where things just really went weird and didn't make any sense. And I was like, I'm curious about that because I love Magnum PI, but it went batshit sometimes. And I watched it, and it did kind of, but I hated it because the review person, like, clearly hates Magnum PI.
Oh.
Like, is angry about Magnum PI. And so I was like, no, that show was awesome. It was ridiculous, and she also clearly loves Murder, She Wrote. And I'm like, I love both of them, but you can't exactly give huge credit to one of those over the other. Those were on par quality wise. I mean,
yeah, pretty much.
And they had a crossover episode. So
they did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So much of Murder, She Wrote was just J.B. Fletcher taking vacations and people got murdered.
Well, yeah.
All the time.
But I didn't know she crossed over to some other show.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think she might have crossed with Matlock once too. I don't remember for sure.
Really? Wow.
Hey.
That would have been an event
Yeah.
for my grandma. Didn't know that.
Back in the day, though, like in their prime, both Murder, She Wrote and Matlock had that perfect 40 minutes of identifying 3 very clear suspects.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes before, the protagonist looks at something off camera that we don't get to see and says, of course. I
Right.
should have thought of it before. And
Yeah.
then, depending on which show, either bust them in front of the jury during a trial or shows up alone at a really dark, shady place to confront them by themselves and then doesn't die because the police show up at the very last second.
Yep.
I'm not going to tell you which show was which.
Yeah.
Seriously, I've been trying over the years to create a Murder, She Wrote drinking game. And one of the main things was drink whenever Jessica confronts the murder alone at night in like an abandoned alleyway or something. Because she was always doing that. And I mean, it always worked out for her, but I'm like, you didn't have to do it this way. You chose like every time.
And she's supposed to be really smart.
Right? Everybody's a fan everywhere she goes.
Yeah.
I think that's the tie-in. I think Higgins was a big fan of her, or Robin Masters was a big fan of hers.
Okay. Okay. Because she wrote books. That's right.
She wrote mysteries. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure taken from real life because she was constantly surrounded by murders. I also really want to know the homicide rate in Cabot Cove because there were a surprising number of episodes that were just set in Cabot Cove, Maine.
Yep.
And people died.
Oh, well, so her show is probably part of the larger Stephen King universe.
Probably. And yeah. I mean, all of it is just spin-offs of St. Elsewhere.
Yeah. And rip-offs of H.P.
Just about every TV show is just that Tommy Westfall's autistic imagination with the snow globe.
Right.
Because they had a lot of crossover episodes that then went all over the place. Richard Belzer single-handedly turned like 6 different TV shows into the imagination of an autistic boy's mind. So, I feel like more happened this week, but I don't know what it is. All right, I should draw a thing.
I did see a couple movies. I saw The Favorite.
You had not seen The Favorite yet?
No.
Oh, what else did you see?
And I saw, shoot, what was the other one?
I don't know.
I had them both in my head so I could say them, but all I can remember is The Favorite. The other one wasn't good at all, but it was like, I mean, you'd recognize it if I told you what it was.
I mean, was it thematic? Because Mary Queen of Scots was around the same time.
No, it wasn't related at all. I just can't remember. But I thought The Favorite was very well written and acted and directed and everything else. I can't say that I particularly liked it. I didn't dislike it, and it was very well crafted. So, and the Oscar was well earned.
I know that Trish and I both were disappointed after it, but also couldn't fault the performances. Those were amazing.
Yeah. Well, the script was good, I thought. It was just,
from a dialogue perspective, yeah, I kind of just didn't give a shit about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it was great watching them all perform, but yeah, the story was not at all compelling to me.
Yeah, me neither. And maybe part of it was also that I've got this thing about history, you know, like if you're going to tell a historical thing, I don't really like it when you take a lot of license, which I think they did. Took a lot of license.
Yeah. I'm generally okay with that as long as people around understand. Like, you know, we saw Hamilton finally, and I love Hamilton. A lot of my time since then talking to my friends has been to beat into them. You know, that's not accurate history, right? Like, they bring up a lot of shit we weren't taught. They also bring up a lot of shit that they made up and a lot of shit that they changed and a lot of shit that they used tremendous artistic license for.
Yep.
A lot of those songs express emotion that there is no evidence from the historical records those people felt.
Yeah. Oh, what was the other thing? It just wasn't good at all. I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
That's how bad it was.
I mean, the only thing I would say about it was that I didn't like it. But you might be interested to know what it was.
Do you remember any elements of it? I could probably come up with the name.
Nope. I'm totally.
You just remember we watched the thing. It was bad.
I just remember.
This feels like you've been brainwashed or something.
No. What I remember is that I remembered it while you were talking, and I said to myself, "Oh, I'm going to mention the favorite, and I'm going to mention this other thing." So I remember remembering something, but I don't remember what I remembered. So
you're a mess.
Yeah, my whole life. My whole life.
Constantly remembering things, but then forgetting.
And forgetting to remember. But I always remember to forget. Every time.
Are you sure?
No.
I mean, how would you know?
It's just a feeling, I guess. You just get a feeling.
You're like, I cannot have forgotten this much unintentionally. At some point, I must have made a deal to do this.
There are a lot of things that I forget that I'm glad I forgot. You know, people will remind me, hey, remember when I said this or I did this? And I have to say, I just got done forgetting that. Don't talk about it. I'll forget it again.
Like when I talking about my butthole? Is that a good example?
It will be one day.
I have been watching a few newer episodes of Joe Parrott Talks to You, and I've been enjoying those.
Oh, I almost forgot.
He had a good one about the grocery store the day before I was going shopping. There was a super cute one I watched where he and his girlfriend can't get to sleep, and so they take his phone and they're watching internet videos, and they end up doing it like all night watching internet videos, and they keep trading who shows who what. And I think most of them were like real internet videos.
Oh.
It was very strange.
That's funny.
Yeah, these are all free, people. Get the Adult Swim app, and at this point, I don't believe there are ones that aren't free. Like you have to watch like a 15-second ad at the beginning, but that's about it. So check them out, and they help you relax. They help you sleep. I've also been watching a lot of a channel that Trish really likes called Nerdy Crafter, spelled Nerde Crafter. And it's this Canadian woman named Jackie who does basically reviews of craft kits that you can buy. And she'll buy them and she'll try them out on camera and tell you like if they're any good and if they're what they promise to be. And it's very fun and silly. And she also has her younger sister that is frequently on them as well, and the two of them are ridiculous together. And they're incredibly innocuous. But that's the thing, is they're just easily digestible and comforting and like not controversial. So if I'm getting like stressed or whatever, it's just a nice simple thing to watch. So I enjoy that. All right, we should draw something or else we won't have drawn anything and people will get mad.
Yep.
Because in my mind, people care that much. All right, and I've drawn a thing from the hat. From Blood Sparrow.
No. Good.
I like the phrasing on this one, so I'm going to say it in the tone I feel it was written.
Okay.
Quality of eggs from chickens living in someone's yard versus convenience of store-bought commodity eggs. Go! Commodity was in quotes, if that should.
Well, this is one of those
That's up there
things.
with one of my favorite questions, which is weird because it came from Azure Talon, the time where he just went, talk about soup. Eggs.
Iowa is the largest egg producing state in the United States.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I think absolutely did not know that.
I think by quite a margin.
Interesting. Nobody talks about that.
No, they talk about pork.
Corn. And in the right circles, they talk a little bit about beef because we actually do a lot of beef. And soybeans. Yep. Never heard about eggs. Does that mean we also do a shit ton of chicken? Or just the eggs?
That's funny you should say that because we do produce a lot of chicken, but not. I don't think we like rank in the top 5 or whatever it is for for
Just
chickens.
unborn chickens.
Yeah, just well eggs. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep. One of the.
But what do you think? Presumably, you've had both. I know I've had both many times.
I think the last time I had eggs that weren't purchased at a store was when I was little. I don't think I've
Really?
had. Yeah, I don't think I've had. Like
Oh, see,
eggs.
throughout my life, many times when I was a kid living at home, when I was living on my own, Trish and I, since we've lived here, I think you get into some situation where someone keeps eggs or somebody knows someone who does, and they're like, hey, all spring, if you want, $3 a dozen, farm
Yep,
fresh eggs.
that's
And
right. Yeah, it's not hard to do that, but I never have. The only eggs I had, farm fresh eggs I had, were from my grandma, who, while she had laying hens, would sometimes make eggs from the. She'd go get the eggs and she'd make breakfast. But
and
that's the last time.
okay, so that's going to be tricky then, trying to compare modern eggs to eggs from your childhood.
Yeah, it's hard to remember that, and
And
also
it's potentially clouded by a lot of other nostalgic factors.
that and my grandma. I didn't really like my grandma's eggs. Like
Oh.
she over fried them.
Oh, and then that becomes a whole thing.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a problem then.
So I don't.
Well,
I really all that stuff together, like you said, doesn't really give me a very good basis for comparison.
and on no planet would I have thought I'm the resident expert on this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had this experience a lot. I've also occasionally had ones where they give duck eggs or turkey eggs.
Sure. Yeah.
And I do not understand why, but I really don't like the turkey eggs and the duck, like they taste weird to me.
Yeah, I've heard people say that.
And I don't really get it. I don't know, but like they bother me. I do not like them. In terms of farm eggs versus store-bought eggs, I remember a lot of difference in look. I don't really ever remember a difference in taste. And I find this interesting because we had talked recently, because I had only recently learned that the U.S. is one of the few places in the world where you have to refrigerate your eggs because eggs come with a waxy coating on them that will make it so you don't have to refrigerate them. It will preserve them. But in the U.S., commercially, they rinse that off. And so consequently, you have to refrigerate eggs here. Presumably, that didn't happen when I was given farm eggs, but I don't remember a waxy coating on them, and I don't remember not refrigerating them. So that's odd. But yeah, to me, they always taste the same. And nowadays, of course, you can get organic, cage-free, stuff like that in the store, and it's a little bit
Very
more money.
local.
I tend to buy them. I actually bought one recently that had a little handwritten note from the farm that talked about like what the weather was that day and stuff, which I was like, it's a little gimmicky, but it's cute.
Yeah, I mean, my wife would buy, free range, organic, very local, like somewhere near here. But I mean, the packaging was very professional looking. But
Yeah.
so does that count? I mean, it was within this county.
Well, nowadays, I'm not sure there's a distinction, especially given, like I said, I can't taste a difference.
Yeah.
I don't know. In my previous job that I had until a few weeks ago, one of my teammates raised chickens, but she never shared any eggs with us. So I don't know.
I mean,
Trish for a while wanted to do chickens in the backyard, and the neighbors were in on it too. They were going to do a whole thing, and then it just kind of fell apart.
Now, I also ate fresh chicken. Like my grandma would go out to the back where the coop was. She'd grab a chicken. She'd twist its head off, and then she'd
Twist
pluck
his
it.
head all the way off?
Yeah.
Get the head off just with hands. I thought you'd like wring its neck, but then you'd still have to chop it up. She pulled it off.
Oh yes. Rip it right
Goddamn
off.
circus geek. Wow.
I guess. I saw her do it a few times, and
That's some Ozzy Osbourne shit there.
then she'd pluck it, and then she'd cook it up. I mean, we'd be eating chicken that night that was killed just hours before.
How was that? I don't mean emotionally. Did it taste different? I mean, the problem is you haven't had chicken for freaking ever. But
yeah, and that's
do
part
you
of the
notice
reason
a difference with fresh chicken?
I don't think I did. No, I mean, I think when we got like Kentucky Fried Chicken or something, it was like the same difference to me, probably. But
Did you
some
ever
people
see your grandma and Colonel Sanders photographed together?
I'm trying to think. So my mom and my grandma would take the skin off.
Oh, evil, evil. I
Of
love the
chicken.
chicken skin.
No, they always took it off
The
and then
best
breaded
thing.
it. Always took it off and then breaded it. So we never had.
Oh,
So when I got older, I was surprised to find chicken that had skin on it.
well, and for me growing up, it wasn't breaded. It was, in fact, this was true for chicken, and this was true for pork chops in my family. They were always done essentially the same way. And that way was put them in a glass baking dish, put some kind of seasoning on it. It varied. Sometimes it was lemon pepper, sometimes it was barbecue sauce, sometimes it was, my dad got obsessed with Beaumont for a while, which is a spice I've never encountered since and which tastes of absolutely nothing. You know, whatever sort of seasoning you want, but just put it straight on the chicken as it is in parts. It'd be chicken parts. Stick it in the oven, 350 degrees for an hour. The end. And the chicken skin was absolutely my favorite part of that.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
I
always
love
took the
that.
skin off. I mean, I've been a
KFC, it's
vegetarian.
my favorite part too.
I've been a vegetarian long enough now that I never really developed a good sense or skill of cooking meat. So I don't even know if I could, like, except hamburger. If I got ground beef and I could put it in a
Yeah.
skillet and chop it up and let it brown or whatever. But I there's no way I could. Maybe I could grill, like outside grill a steak. Maybe.
I loved doing that, and I was always terrible at it. But the other night, I made some really damn good steaks because recently Trish bought some sirloin, and she also bought a pork loin. So we have a lot of cuts of meat right now. And I've been making things with them because they're in our freezer. And it's a new thing we're doing. When we have meat in our freezer, we're like, we should use that meat for dinner. Anyway, different story. But so the other night, had something, we're like, we're going to do steak salad. And so we just bought a bag salad. It was an Asian salad, and I just put it on the plates. And then I cooked these two steaks. And I looked up online how to do it. And apparently there's a new fancy way now they call reverse searing, where you basically put it in the oven until it gets the internal temperature, and then you sear the outside. But fuck that. I'm finding old school. And I read this thing, and it's like screaming hot pan. You have to salt it either this soon or this soon, and the timing is important there. And then you move it around a whole bunch, and then at the very end, throw in a few tablespoons of butter and sort of baste it at the end, so it's always going to be tender and good. Damned if those weren't tasty steaks. And pretty tender. I was shocked with myself.
Well done.
Normally that's the problem. Normally it's just like, well done. It's like, oh, no, it's too rare. It's too up now. It's just a hockey puck. But these were, it was awesome.
Isn't the internet a wonderful thing?
Really, really is. It's taught me a lot. A lot of stuff that's wrong, but still.
Yeah.
No, I'm slowly sort of expanding into more cooking again. And part of that is I'm more comfortable, but I have the time now. And part of it is as the kitchen becomes cleaner, I have more space to work in and things. So I'm getting more creative.
Sure.
Do it. Trish has a really cool recipe. I want to tell you all this because this is her recipe, and then I know I'm doing it. It's pork chops and rice, and it involves rice-a-roni, so you know it's good because rice-a-roni is one of the tastiest things on the planet. Rice-a-roni is one of those things that, like, you know how a dog, you can't just give it unlimited food because it will eat itself to death?
Sure, people say that, yeah.
That's the thing. That's how I am with rice-a-roni.
Oh.
Like, if you gave me unlimited rice-a-roni, I would probably die. Rice-a-roni is really good.
That's not a San Francisco treat at all.
No, that's why they have them in those little boxes. This is safe, you know. But so you buy rice-a-roni, you buy pork chops in a pan with some butter, brown the pork chops. Just brown them. They don't have to cook. Just brown them. Set them aside. Start doing the rice-a-roni in the pan the way the instructions say to do the rice-a-roni in the pan. When you get to the part with the water, put the water in, put the pork chops back in, and then finish doing the rice-a-roni like it says on the box. And when you're done, you've got rice-a-roni and some cooked pork chops, and it's super tasty. So do it, everybody. But in the meantime, buy whatever eggs, because it doesn't seem to matter. They're all... I don't know. If you've got a different experience with eggs, go to the blog, themagicaltalkinghat.com, and tell us. Also, share some recipes. I think that would be cool. I'm just starting to cook on a regular basis again, so I need lots of good recipes. We had a heck of a time this last week. Like, that's what you should say. What did you do this week? Spent a lot of time on that blog. There was a lot of conversation this week between like 5 of us. It got really crazy over there. Building a lot of myths.
It's kind
Talking
of fun
about
to make
buttholes, and
it's kind of fun to make some stuff up.
yeah, no, but it was busy. It was weird. I'm not used to going there. And it's like, this entry has 40 comments. I'm like, really?
40
Wow.
comments, yeah.
Yeah,
I actually made some other stuff up, but I didn't put it in the blog. I just
and WordPress has that thing
entertained myself.
where you can only reply in like 3 deep or something.
Yeah.
Because Jazz said something and I wanted to reply, and it's like, nope, you can only reply to the parent. I'm like, well, that won't work, so I didn't even do it. So I wanted to say even more. But it's hopping over there, people. So get over there, themagicaltalkinghat.com, and write things and say stuff. And, you know, call us out on our shit. That's fine. We don't care. We're nice people. I take it back. We're apathetic people. You can treat us like dirt. We're fine. We're just going to keep podcasting. That's what we do. To infinity and beyond. Or at least until somebody's on Mars.
20 years from now.
Disclaimer, to infinity and beyond and other similar phrases and Buzz Lightyear are copyrights of Disney Corporation. All rights reserved. I can't say that stuff. Don't sue us.
May the sass be with you.
Also that, not the frass. Wait.
The sass. May the sass be with you.
Yeah. It gets weird.
The blessings of the sass be upon you, or something.
I don't want to join your cult. I want to join Jazz's cult.
It's our cult, I thought.
No, Jazz has started the cult. Just because you came in with like the root beer cult equivalent of the Book of Mormon, like a New Testament of root beer, doesn't mean it's your cult.
She said we were acolytes. It was A&Ws. That's what she said.
Yeah, but still her cult. We're acolytes of it. It's still hers.
Yeah.
She's
I'm not denying that.
the main. Well, you just said it's our cult. It's not our cult. It's her cult.
Well, we're in Jazz and you and me and everybody who's in it. Oh, I see. It's a cult, so it's got to be
hers.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's Jazz's cult.
The one true root beer.
The sassiest. She's the sassiest.
Yeah. Dorothy, what's her name from Boundary Waters? All right. So come back next week and join a new cult. Bye, everybody.